Hi everyone and welcome back. Today I am making some tiny polymer clay mushrooms. So I have got some rounded caps, some flat topped ones, and some pointed style mushrooms, and I will be making one set of each today. Now, what's unique about these mushrooms is this beautiful marbled coloring that they have on them. So these were actually made with some scrap clay from another project. Recently, my daughter and I made these beautiful jewelry pieces using an imitation stone technique, and I wound up with all of these beautiful little scrap pieces, and normally I would use them to make beads, but I wanted to do something different this time. So that's what I used to make these mushrooms, and that's what I will be using today. So these pieces were made with translucent Sculpey acrylic paint and some silver and gold foils. And my daughter does have a short video tutorial for the blue ones available on her channel, and I will leave her link in the description below if you guys are interested in seeing how those were made. For tools today, I have just got a small dotting tool and then a larger ball tool here. So I've got all my clays here, and I usually make these in sets of 2 or 3. We are going to be making these flat top ones first because they are the simplest, and we are going to do the caps for each one and then the stems separately. So I have got a small, medium, and large ball here, and I am going to just start by pressing these nice and flat into my board here. And then I'm going to pick them up, and I am just going to begin pinching that edge nice and thin all the way around each one. And now, using that smaller dotting tool, I am just going to mark a hole right here in the center for that stem to fit on. And if you pick this up and kind of turn it around on that dotting tool and just a little bit of pressure, you don't want to smush it, but you just want to form kind of a lip around the bottom edge there. And I am going to repeat that process with the other two. For these round caps, we are going to be using this larger dotting tool, and I have cut these into discs. So we are going to start again by pinching down the edges all the way around on each one. And now I'm going to take that larger dotting tool and I'm going to place this flat on the top of it. And then I am just going to begin kind of pressing and turning this on top of that ball to create a nice dome shape. And then I'm going to take that smaller dotting tool, and again, I am just marking a hole right here in the center for that stem. And you do want to make sure the hole on these is round enough and deep enough to hold that stem when they're finished. And I am just going to repeat that process with the other two pieces here. Now for the pointed caps, I've got a small, medium, and large size ball here, and I am going to start by pointing one end. And once you get that to a point, just go ahead and flatten out the very bottom of it. This is what it looks like, and I am just going to repeat that process with the other two. And now, using my smaller dotting tool, I am going to start by marking a hole right here in the center, and then I am just going to begin turning that around, pressing that edge into my finger there to widen and hollow it out. And you want to keep it nice and round and smooth and try to keep that edging as even as possible. And these ones might require a little bit of reshaping after you get them hollowed out. I am going to go ahead and repeat that same process with the other two caps here. And once those are done, I am going to take that smaller dotting tool again, and I am just marking to make sure that when I fit that stem up in there, it'll be right in the center. The next step is to make these stems, and again, we are doing these ones first, and you can see that they are very skinny and delicate. I have got this piece of blue here, and I am just going to begin rolling this out nice and thin. And then I am going to cut this into 3 different pieces, one for each cap. And you don't want the tops nice and pointy. I'm going to go ahead and just trim off those points so that we have a nice blunt end to fit into the tops of those caps. And now we can begin fitting these stems together. So I am just pressing them in on the bottom here, making sure that they're well adhered. And you do want to pay attention to the spacing on these. You want them far enough apart that you have room to add those mushroom caps when they're done. If they're too close together, then you might not be able to get your caps on there. Another thing to pay attention to is height. You want them kind of staggered. If you have 2 mushroom caps that are exactly the same height, then they might look too uniform and not as natural. And once those are done, I am going to set them aside up here, and we are going to be doing those pointed caps next because they are also blue. Now for the pointed caps, these stems are not quite as delicate as the last ones, but they are significantly longer. I am going to start the same way. I'm just going to cut off this end here, and then I am going to cut this into 3 pieces, one for each mushroom. And these are different lengths. So I have a long one, a medium one, and a short one. And the thing to really pay attention to on these is just making sure that you have enough stem to fit up inside of that cap. They are a little bit deep, so keep in mind that that stem is going to be pushing up inside there. So I am just going to fit these together, pinching them in on the bottoms to adhere them. And now I'm going to set this one aside. And again, I am just paying attention to the spacing there on those stems as well. And now I am just fitting the stems together for those rounded caps. And these ones are the largest of the 3 styles. So, really pay attention and make sure that you've got room in between those stems for each one of those caps to set. I like to kind of curve them outwards. And I'm also going to put a little bit of a curve on this center one as well. These are finished for now. We are going to go ahead and bake the caps and stems before we put them together. If you want to take your razor knife or another tool and, notch out these edges or add gills for additional detail, you can. These pieces are so tiny though that it really isn't necessary. I didn't add gills on any of these ones and they look great. These flat top ones here, because they are so simple, I did add a little bit of notching around those edges, but again, it really isn't necessary. So I am going to get these transferred and then I am going to bake them at 275 for right around 15 minutes. This translucent clay will burn very easily and it tends to darken. So be careful to make sure that you don't cook them too long. And once these are baked and cooled, I am going to glue the caps on. Now, if you want to bake the stems separately and use some liquid Sculpey to bake and bond the caps that way, you certainly can. I am just using a small dab of Gorilla Glue, and I am going to put them on from smallest to largest, so we're working from the bottom up. So I've applied my Gorilla Glue on the stem here, and I am just going to fit that right into that hole that we made. Just like that. And the next one over here on the side, and then the longest one last. And here they are. And I am going to assemble the rest of these the same way. Here are those rounded caps. And here are the pointed ones. And I did seal these with a satin varnish. It gives them a little bit of shine, and I think it really helps to bring out those colors and those foils as well. here they are, guys. Now I do have some of these where I twisted that marbling pattern around there on those stems. These are also textured and have gills on them, and I made some of these ones in larger groups as well, and they turned out really good. Now you can use these like stakes, or you can make bases for them to stand alone. These make a wonderful addition to houseplants and fairy gardens, and they are great for use in resin art and other craft projects. That is it for today, guys. Don't forget to hit that like button. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.